read some of the ground rules before we get started tonight. This is a Meet the Candidates style forum, which differs from a debate. There is no presumptive conflict in the discussion. We are focused on helping the voters learn more about the candidates from their positions on the issues relevant to the election and the understanding of the offices they are seeking and how they handle the questions about the things we think are important. So, to the candidates, we're going to ask everybody to please respect the format. We're going to keep the structure and the layout pretty intact. No crosstalk. Show respect to your fellow candidates and to yourself by observing the time limits on the discussion and yielding the floor to other speakers when it's their turn. You talk over each other, you talk over the moderator, we're going to cut your mic. No personal attacks. I don't think I need to say this, but everybody here is going to still be a Collingswood resident on May 14th. This is a contest among people who are trying to volunteer their time for the good of local government, for the public interest. Let's please assume everybody here is here for the right reasons. And stay on topic. We got a lot of things to cover. We're going to ask you stick to the discussion topics as they're presented. There will be plenty of opportunities for everybody to jump in and talk about what they want to talk about. And here's how the format's going to go. So we're going to start with introductions. Every candidate is going to have 90 seconds to address the crowd directly at the top and at the bottom of this event. So you should use this time, candidates, to share details about yourselves, your platform, your connection to the community, your interest in holding elected office, et cetera, et cetera. Then we're going to have questions. Some questions will go to everybody. Some questions will start with one person, and there'll be an opportunity for rebuttals or follow-ups. So when a question is posed to you directly, you have 60 seconds to respond. Brett is going to be keeping time for us tonight, so he's going to tell you when you have 10 seconds, and he's going to count you down from 5, 4, 3, 2 to 1, and then you got to stop. And when you get to that 1 second, if you're still talking, you can finish the sentence you are saying. You may not start another one. No semicolons, no dashes. We're not doing infinite jest up here. It's just going to finish what you're talking about. Okay, and then if someone is asked a question, they have the 60 seconds to start. After that, we will open it up to rebuttals of 30 seconds each. If after everyone else has gone, the original person to whom the question was asked would like to follow up for another 30 seconds, they could do that once at the very end. We are going to have 90 seconds again at the end where people can address the crowd directly to clarify their positions or their responses or reinforce their platform, anything they'd like to say. We're going to ask in your closing and opening remarks, you don't discuss other candidates, you only discuss yourself, and you please stay on topic for what we're talking about, okay? So this is going to be serpentine, which means we're going to start going all the way down like this, and then we'll come back around the other way as the questions go, and I'll do my best to keep track of it on my analog system here. But we're going to start with the introductions, and we'll go to the left to Megan Adamley. Would you please lead us off, Megan? 90 seconds.
All right, I'd love to. Hi, everyone. I'm Megan Adamley. I am not a politician, and I'm very nervous, so please bear with me if I stumble a bit here. My family and I moved to Collingswood 11 years ago. Professionally, I've worked as an aide to high-level executives for the past 20-plus years, most recently in gun violence prevention. Currently, I actually work on a program that trains gun violence survivors and volunteers how to run for office. But I am very, very behind the scenes with that, and so running for office myself is not something that I had really thought about. And so I hesitated at first when I was approached about running, but ultimately I realized that it is my experience working behind the scenes that would make me good at this job. I think we're probably going to talk a lot about policies tonight, and I'm excited to share about the Collingswood Forward framework, but I want to use this time to tell you why I'm running. The past few years, it's been very clear to me that people are not feeling listened to. Divisiveness happens when needs are not being met, and conversations get loud when people are not feeling heard. And so as somebody who's committed to being a part of this community for the long haul, I want everyone to know that your voices and opinions and your input really do matter and are important and are respected. As an executive assistant for so long, I can tell you, if I'm doing my job right, you don't know I'm here. Things will run smoothly and get done, and that ultimately is what I want to bring to Borough Hall.
Is the mic still working up there? We're good? Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. Sorry. Megan, are you all done?
I am.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. There's a lag on my screen. Yeah. Jim, you're up. Thank you. Forgive me.
I got my time.
I couldn't see if you were finished. I didn't feel like 90 seconds. Jim Maley.
My name's Jim Maley. I'm lucky enough to be the mayor of this town, and I surprises some that I'm running again, but I am running again, and really the reason is I love this town. I love this place, I love the community, I love the neighborhoods, I love the people in this town, I love the work that we've been able to do, I love working with all of you, all the people that have helped make this town what it is, are so vitally a part of the work that we have done, and I look forward to doing more. I know that we have a reputation in this town throughout the state for being a place that brings creative solutions, that takes hard problems, that fixes them in a way that frankly nobody else has really thought of and no one else has been able to do. And we have had great success at that, whether it's Parkview, whether it's starting a restaurant scene on Haddon Avenue, whatever it is. And nothing can point that out more than the last couple of months we've been through when we had some extraordinary requests from our school district. And in the last couple of months, our team has the borough team has put together plans that address all of the school district issues, do it in a way that don't break the bank, and really go far beyond the ask. So I suggest to you that the team that has the old dog can still do some new tricks.
Thanks. I just got a note from someone who said that if we can just all keep our seats, because I think, Jim, some of your remarks were not carrying because of your distance from the microphone, so. Yeah, no, it's all good. But we'll all stay seated. Thank you. Amy Henderson-Riley.
Thank you so much. I'm Dr. Amy Henderson-Riley. I'm running for commissioner as part of the Collingswood Forward slate. And I'm running for two reasons: to leverage my experience and to make a difference. My husband and I moved to Collingswood in 2010. Some of my first memories of Collingswood from the very first weeks were getting involved in the Collingswood Community Theater, and I quickly saw what a special and amazing community this is. Professionally, I hold a doctorate in public health, and I completed a postdoctoral fellowship in communication. I'm director of research for an NGO, a non-governmental organization, where I work in applied work and research in family planning, gender, and education. I've overseen projects in 19 countries. As you know, it's a difficult time in public health, but I'm hoping to live by the mantra that I've always lived by, that's think global, act local. Using my global experience overseeing complex projects with multi-million-dollar budgets and moving parts right here in this community, where my husband and I are raising our 3 girls and where we hope that our children will graduate from Collingswood High School. There's a lot happening in the world. What I'm hoping is that this can give me purpose to deepen my commitment to this community. I've run for office before. I previously served on the Camden County Democratic Committee. I'm currently the chairperson for the Collingswood Health Services Advisory Board and was appointed by the mayor for the COVID-19 committee. And I'm excited to be here tonight and to hear from all of you and from the rest of the candidates. Thank you.
Morgan Robinson.
Good evening. I'm Morgan Robinson. I am running for a second term with Team Collingswood. I spent the last 4 years learning what I didn't know. It was a crash course, and I had great teachers. Rob and Jim were phenomenal. Learning what questions to ask was important, and learning to see 3 steps ahead. That's one of my favorite things that I learned. This is a great idea. What happens 2-3 steps down? I came to this town 22 years ago. We moved our family here, and I have 3 sons. The third is about to graduate, wrapping up 21 years in Collingswood schools. I was a business owner for 10 years. I owned a donation-based thrift and vintage shop, so I got 10 years is 50 in retail. So I learned how much the borough helps our local businesses, and I could always rely. I mean, I wouldn't have made 10 years without the help of the borough. So, and we did donation-based, and we gave over $20,000 to charity. So I came to this role deeply entrenched in the community, and we've built the Pride Committee in the last 4 years that I've been here, and I'm excited about the outdoor spaces and our Pocket Park.
Thanks. Stuart Slattery.
Hello, everyone. My name is Stuart Slattery. Most people in Collingswood know me as Stu. And I would first like to thank everyone that came out tonight. I'd like to thank the moderators, NJ Penn, and the Retrospect for holding the forum. I've lived in Collingswood since I was 3.5. My mom moved here way back when. I went to Zane North. I went from K to 6. I attended Collingswood Middle School, graduated Collingswood High School in 2002. It's here where I lettered for sports and participated in the theater program in middle school and high school. I'm a graduate of Arcadia University with a degree in education. After college, I started coaching at Collingswood and have coached from 2006 to 2022 on the basketball staff. I was a supervisor of the Adult Cerebral Palsy Center in Collingswood for 10 years. I was responsible for a $750,000 budget. I was responsible for 10 employees and 15 clients. While at the center, I was trained in numerous state and federal regulations. I currently am an insurance broker that assists people with health, life, home, and auto insurance. My wife and I have 2 children. Our daughter's 3 and our son is 6. He's in kindergarten at Mark Newby Elementary. And I'm running Collingswood Commissioner because I love the town too. I want the community to grow no matter if you were a resident 30 years ago or maybe you just moved in. This is our Collingswood. That's it.
Thank you. Becky Sieg.
Hi, I'm Becky. I'm excited to be here tonight and for the opportunity to lend my voice to Team Collingswood. My family moved to town a little over 10 years ago and have just been in love with the uniqueness of the neighborhoods and the schools, as well as all the programming that the town has to offer. And over the last especially year, I've had the chance to talk so much with residents about issues around education, affordability, and quality of life that I have this real passion and energy around where we can go as a community. Also looking at what's happened nationally and the way from where I sit, it feels like our town has just broke open divisions in the last year. Very committed to thinking about how we come back together, how we make sure that no matter where you live in Collingswood, how you identify, or frankly, how you voted on a referendum in the fall, there are opportunities for all voices to be heard, elevated, and respected as we move forward. What I am most excited for in that is that in the next 4 years, one of our obligations really should be a redevelopment of our master plan that gives a blueprint for how we move forward with shared goals and a shared vision together. Whether it's looking at how much and what kinds of housing we need, or how we make sure that our infrastructure can keep up with us as we grow. It's something that can bring all of us together and unite us and have a chance to hear community voices. I'm excited to lend my expertise to that because my career in education has really been around how do we build initiatives together to make sure that it's affordable for teachers to enter the profession and to make sure that it's affordable for them to remain. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniela Solano Ward.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Daniela Solano Ward, and I'm running for commissioner on the Collingswood Forward slate. I'm a first-generation American. My parents are Colombian. I hold a master's degree in international economics, and that combined with being a native Spanish speaker led me to my pre-child career in agricultural commodities. As a merchant, my duties included verifying and accounting any errors in our daily financial position. For reference, that daily position, dollars-wise, was larger than the borough's yearly budget. We moved to Collingswood in 2017. Our daughter was born soon after, and I became a full-time parent with part-time gigs as an editor for the China-Africa Research Initiative and a project manager writing RFPs. Our son was born in February 2020, and I found myself with a newborn, a 2.5-year-old, and a doctor husband working very, very long hours in the ICU. It was a very scary time, and I'm sure you all remember. But somehow it was during the pandemic that Collingswood came through for us. I felt a community embrace and acceptance I'd never known before. I've lived in Washington, D.C., Miami, Bogota, Quito, and no place has ever felt more like home than Collingswood. A town that can foster this level of familiarity and acceptance amongst its neighbors should be cherished and cultivated. I love the exposure and reach into the community being on the rec soccer board has given me. This is where my children were born, where we bought our first house. All of our investments, both financial and family-wise, are here in Collingswood. I'm running for commissioner to help grow this community and this town into the future.
Thanks very much. And Daniela, we'll start with you and we'll ask this question to everybody. You're all going to have 60 seconds to respond. What are Collingswood's strengths and values? What do you believe makes this community distinct from its neighbors? 60 seconds and then we'll go down the line.
I think the fabric of this town is pretty amazing. You have families that have been here for 45 years, that have grandparents that live down the street, and then you have people who moved here 6 months ago that are already volunteering and coaching and leading an Odyssey of the Mind team, and everyone meets on Saturdays at the farmer's market. That's pretty special. And you can jump on the speed line or PATCO, depending on how long you've been here, and you can be in Philly. So that's, the reach of that is pretty amazing. I think this is a very diverse community, and people move here because it is a diverse community. So I think that is something we need to focus on. Way more unites us than separates us, and I think we just need to get back to that message. And seeing all of you here tonight, I think that's what we're feeling, is that everyone's on the same page about being together and moving forward.
Thanks. Becky, same question.
Yeah, I think I agree with so much about the diversity of our town, right? When you look at school districts across the state, in New Jersey, we stand out in Collingswood as an authentically, genuinely diverse community, especially as you look at our schools. But I think that it's because of our values of how we create space for one another across lines of difference throughout town to make sure there's time and opportunities for people who otherwise might not know each other to come together. We create those spaces in a way that make it so people can really thrive here and really have an opportunity here to grow and raise their families and hopefully not get priced out. I also think what's just genuinely special about our town is that, I mean, the neighborhoods, right? Like, I think about where I live in West Collingswood and the opportunities that my kids have to just be with their neighbors, and the genuine love and familial feel that comes with that is something like I've never experienced anywhere else that I've lived.
Thank you. Stuart.
Strengths of Collingswood are never-ending, really. I love the town. I've been here since I was a little kid. The fact that I used to go to Villa Barone with a Little League uniform on, and now you can't touch that place with a Little League uniform because it's too classy. But yet, the town has grown so much and molds so many great minds throughout our time period. It's just a beautiful town. It's the way everyone comes together, the way we all walk through the farmer's market, the way you walk through down Haddon Ave, you say and see anybody you know, and you can say hi, you can have a 20-minute conversation with anybody. Our town is one of the best melting pots in the community, in the area, in the South Jersey. I always tell people that one of the best things about Collingswood is that it's 15 minutes away from the airport.
Okay, Morgan.
I think one of the best things about Collingswood is more something you can't quite name. It's a vibe. You know, we have this spirit in town. When you're walking down, you're enjoying the town, there's the parks and other things, but personally, we are so enmeshed in this town, and my family suffered a really tragic loss in the fall, and I've been on the serving end of the town for a long time, and I found out the reciprocity of that, and the way that the town gave back to us. I can't even express how beautiful it was, and that's that quality. We have each other's backs.
Thanks. Amy?
I'll add to what my colleagues have said and add a new point, which is I think the diversity of this town makes this town a beautiful place. We have a diversity of voices, races, ethnicities, sexual orientation, gender identity. It's something that I'm very passionate about, to make sure that Collingswood remains a safe and accepting place where everyone is welcomed. And in terms of values, we value education. You can see from the discussions around town, everyone here values education as well as service. And I want to deepen that service and really be an accountable leader who takes action and has accountability for my actions.
Jim?
It's the mix of people, and that mix is really not just who the people are. The mix is also, it runs into our housing, it runs into everything we have in town. We have some really big expensive houses, we have some really small houses. We have everything from start to finish, a mix all across economic borders, all across their racial, all across who they love, all across all of that. And that together makes this a place which, for some reason, over the years, has generated people that are willing to volunteer. If there's a problem in Collingswood, people say, how can I help? When people come out and tell us they'd like to see us start a Shakespeare company, we'd love to see that. We tell them, Okay, you're the chair of the Shakespeare Company. Let's get going. We'll help you in every way. It's that mix that gets them all together that I think is really the strong fabric that, that keeps this community what it is.
Is that, well, there's an issue. That microphone was not on.
I turned it on.
Okay. Jim, can you bring that a little closer and
Jim,
maybe
catch
angle it toward yourself a little bit?
I'm the one you can't hear? Really?
It's the millions at home for the fireside chat. Thank you, Megan. You're up next. You should have caught that earlier. I'm sorry about that.
You know, I think folks have hinted at it here. The strength of this town is its people. We have people who have been here their entire lives. We have people who've moved here from all over New Jersey and all over the country. And it is that community that makes this place so special. And it makes it the kind of place that we all want to serve and that people do want to volunteer to be a part of. People want to, and this is our values, people want to give back to this community and make it the best version of itself that it can possibly be. And when we see that people are hurting or that something is not working, we all want to chip in and do our parts to make that better.
Thanks very much. Okay, Megan, we'll stay with you for this one. We're going to get into some questions about governance. Being a commissioner carries responsibilities for relating well not only to Collingswood residents, but to people in neighboring communities and elected officials in county and state government. Megan, we'll ask you this one. How do you regard the work of being a Collingswood commissioner in the broader context within Camden County and New Jersey at large?
That's a good question. So you can't be involved in the gun violence prevention movement for as long as I have been and not know how to find common ground with just about anybody, even people who are committed to being against everything I stand for. I think we need to leverage the experience of other municipalities in Camden County who have gone through and are currently going through a lot of the same pain points that we're seeing here in Collingswood. There is a Camden County Mayor's Association that I would join up on day one and seek experience and feedback and input from experts. And I would also leverage the experience and knowledge of our incredible borough staff. Oh, someone in the front row doesn't like that answer. I want to talk to experts. I want to talk to the members of the community who know about these things, and I want to involve everyone in the conversation.
Thank you. Anyone else for a 30-second follow-up?
Yeah,
Jim?
I would. What's key in all this are the relationships. The relationships we built over a long period of time. Just yesterday, in the last couple of days, the state's changed the rules about the school funding issue, thrown a little bit of a wrench into everything. And because I had contact a long time ago, was able to text the governor. And he got back to me, set up a meeting for us to meet on Monday to talk over with the DOE to figure it out. We have it at the county level, we have it with other towns, we have it all across the board, strong relationships.
Thank you. Anyone else for a 30-second follow-up? Amy?
So being a commissioner is an elected position. It's not a career. And so being an elected official, you represent the town. And so when serving Collingswood, we would represent Collingswood for the county at the state level and do so best in a shared manner via the Walsh Act. We have 3 commissioners, not just 1 mayor. Thank you.
Anyone else? Stuart?
I think being the commissioner and reason being, your ability to communicate with everyone around you is one of the strongest things that you can do, and how much you can build your community from that person to this person to that person. Everybody makes a fist is much stronger than a finger. You know, you're a team. We're all a team together.
Thanks. Anybody else for a 30-second rebuttal? Okay, Jim, next question to you. The Collingswood Municipal Government is organized under the Walsh Act as a nonpartisan 3-person body with commissioners of Revenue and Finance, Public Safety, and Public Works. Do you believe the local government as constructed is appropriately sized for the borough, or would you favor expanding the commission to 5 or 7 elected members? We've had this question come in from a few people.
I think this form of government is the greatest form of government in the history of the world. Long time ago, I was involved. There was a referendum to try to change the form of government, to make it a mayor and council. and we debated that all over town, and the town decided, keep it the 3-person commission. It's for our size, it is ideal because it is easy to keep things moving, to get things done. We have public outreach that I don't think any town has. Just a couple of weeks ago, the town forum we did, all the town forums we do all kinds of outreach. Everybody gets their chance to be heard. We don't always agree all the time, okay? But you certainly get heard here, and this form of government allows us to take that input and then put it into action in an effective way.
Anyone for a rebuttal? Amy?
So there are 30 municipalities out of 564 in the state of New Jersey that operate this way. Although it may seem ideal, the law says that we are currently in a position where we could have 5. This would be a vote by the town. If elected, I would be supportive of a vote to expand the number of commissioners.
Stuart?
I too think that we could have a commission session of 5 people or so, because we have different parts of the town, and different parts of the towns have different needs. Haddon Ave has a different part than the towers. The towers have a different need than down by the river. So more people heard is a better process.
Anyone else?
Matt?
Megan, thank you.
I think one other benefit of possibly expanding to a 5-person commission, which our population does allow for, would enable us to have staggered year elections, which could increase the number of people we have running for these seats and could have more voices at the table.
Daniela?
I just want to add that continuity is really important, and part of leadership is making sure that the process can continue without you. So if you were to have 5, if the town were to approve it, then with the staggering, you could make sure there's always experience, and you don't have to have this worry, well, we have to keep the same person, because if not, no one knows how this thing works. So that would really save us from that kind of issue.
Anybody else? Okay. Amy, this next question is for you. Aside from borough staff and elected officials, Collingswood relies upon several volunteers on bodies like its land use board, its historic board. What are your thoughts on how those appointments are made? What are your criteria, or what would they be for selecting the residents who serve on those bodies, if you were commissioner?
Thank you. Yes, this town has a wonderful amount of volunteers who serve on the Zoning and Planning Board, the Historic Preservation Committee. These are currently appointed positions by the commissioners. Myself and the slate that I'm running as part of, we are interested in engaging new voices. And so we believe these should be an open nomination so that anyone from any experience, if you want to give back to the town, that you're able to, that there isn't a closed door to your participation. Personally, I believe in civic participation and engaging folks, and the way to do that is via an open nomination process so that we can have every volunteer who wants to give back to this wonderful town. Thanks.
Anyone for a rebuttal? Daniela?
I would just like to add that part of the, the open application process would be, what's your background, right? Were you an engineer in college, or, really you've never done architecture, but you've loved it since you were a child and you became an accountant, but really this is your passion. Like, I think there's this time in this space to really take in why you think you should do it, and that would be something else we'd pursue.
Morgan, I saw a hand up. Yeah.
I agree, an open nomination is a good idea. The more people we can get to step forward, the better, and by any avenue. Everybody's voice matters, and I think that is a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else?
I would just add that I really think we do that. It's how Amy was appointed to the Board of Health. It's how we constantly have people that express an interest to serve on a board. If anyone out there has an interest right now, we're happy to hear from you, because there's always vacancies available. We've appointed people from all different walks of life. We constantly try to rotate the board. If there's no one, I think, that can say they wanted to be on a board and they couldn't get on the board.
Thank you. Anybody? Amy, go ahead.
Sorry, if we have a chance.
Well, you can go at the end if everyone else has had a chance.
Please. Yeah.
Are we all through? Okay, you can have 30 seconds.
Sure. I just wanted to respond that I did not apply to be on the board. I was delighted to be, but it was not a nomination process. The same with the COVID-19 committee. It was just folks who were brought by you onto the board. Thanks.
Who had that background?
Okay, Morgan, this next one is for you. 60 seconds. Many local governments, including those in Audubon, Haddon Township, Haddon Heights, and Oakland, meet twice a month, once in a work session caucus and a second time to conduct business. Currently, Collingswood Commission meets once a month. Do you believe it would serve the public interest to add an additional monthly caucus session to the government meetings?
I'm not opposed to it. So it would be 2 open sessions.
Correct.
Yeah. I think that we get our work accomplished in one, but I am not opposed to meeting twice.
Anyone else? Daniela?
So I really love the idea of that two open sessions, because I think what this community wants to see is the back and forth. I think it's great that the commissioners currently always vote 3-0, but I would love to see how did you get there? Did you always agree on everything? Or was there an outside opinion and you somehow came to the solution where all 3 of you agreed, but you got there by hearing different ideas? And I would love to be able to show that to the community.
Go ahead, Becky.
Yeah, I agree that looking at having a second meeting every month to be able to have more transparency into how decisions are made makes a lot of sense. What I would say is doing more of the same, where it's 2 similar meetings every month, might not be the best way to do it. Perhaps it is more of a roundtable or forum style, where people can come and share and talk and have more opportunities back and forth, rather than kind of a public comment or session in the middle of it.
Anyone else? Megan?
I think any opportunity for residents to engage with their elected commissioners is a good thing. I would love more casual settings. Others have said where people can bring their ideas and their questions and their concerns. Our commissioner meetings are very short right now, and I would love to expand those through open dialogue and back and forth. And again, a second meeting would be fantastic.
Anyone else? Okay. Stuart, this one's for you. We're going to move on to the subject of finance. Since the implementation of the 2% property tax cap, municipal governments are being asked to operate on ever tighter margins amid increasing costs. That circumstance is being compounded by uncertainty in federal aid, which we found out accounts for 1/3 of the New Jersey state budget. What is your perspective on managing the rising costs of local government without dramatically cutting services or raising taxes? How much of that job is about managing expectations, and how much of it is about managing resources? 60 seconds.
A lot of words in that question. Financially, to be all honest, nobody wants to raise taxes. Everyone in this room would probably say they don't want to raise taxes. It's going to happen. It has to happen. We have to grow things. I still don't know why we've lost that word fundraiser. We have ability to use, we got the Scottish Rite in a pretty snap of a finger, which is pretty awesome. But we have the senior center that we can use on a weekend basis. And if there's not anything going on there, there's no reason why we can't have a fundraiser. Let the town help each other. Let us all grow together. But the taxes, we can only change what we can change when it comes to taxes. The percentages that go up and go down, it is what it is in my head. We have to use the old word of fundraising and help each other out.
Anyone for a follow-up? Becky?
Yeah, what I'd say is I agree with fundraising, thinking about how we can be creative here, but I also think while we live in an expensive state, and I understand that we sometimes say taxes just need to go up, we also, given the uncertainty that families are facing right now, I don't think that the response can be that we just need to raise taxes. I believe what we really need to do is think about, as the role of a commissioner, what does shared services look like? How can we better collaborate and work with other municipalities and other entities to make sure it's not just adding more, but it's being more creative?
Danielle?
I also think we need to consider expanding our ratables. So we need to consider whether a liquor license is finally, it's time for Collingswood, perhaps. We need to not be saying no to ideas that could bring more money into the borough that isn't coming from taxpayers and homeowners. Likewise, we need to be very, very vocal about programs like Stay New Jersey and the Anchor program, because it's for our 65-plus community that is on limited incomes, and I think the borough needs to work very, very hard in making those projects accessible to our residents.
Thank you. Megan, yes?
I think getting back to your question as to whether it's the commissioner's job to communicate and level set expectations or to find financial solutions, the answer is all of the above. I think as we've seen the last few months with the school budget discussions, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of genuine concern, and rightfully so. And I think we need leaders at every level to share information openly, honestly, and without bias.
Thanks. Anybody else?
Yeah,
Jim?
so to address the finances, it's being resourceful in finding other people's money. Over the last, 5, 10 years, we have attracted all kinds of different grants for infrastructure, for upgrading our water systems, for pedestrian improvements. It's a long list of what we've been able to pull in from other people. We've also opened up to other industries, cannabis industry in town. There's unlimited our attempt to expand ratables in this town. I get criticized for that, but it's unlimited
That's time.
our attempt to expand those
Thank you.
ratables.
Thank you. Anyone else for a follow-up? Amy?
I want to give credit due, I'm sure we're probably going to get to pilots, that pilots have been used in this town as a way to bring in businesses, but the downside has been the reduction or the lieu of taxes. So I also want to say that if elected as commissioner, I think they remain one tool in the toolbox, but to be used more sparingly so that we do have cash to address things like infrastructure and education. Thank you.
Anyone else? Stuart, you can have a 30-second rebuttal if you want it.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Okay. So Becky, this next question will be for you. In keeping with national trends, Collingswood housing values have climbed to historic heights since the turn of the century. Today, the average home in the borough is valued around $450,000, if I have that right. What are your strategies for maintaining local housing affordability and a variety of housing types for residents of different income levels, whether they be renters or owners?
Yeah, I love this. As a family whose reassessment just drove our property value way higher than we anticipated it, it's something that I think that we need to address. And part of that is that we need to be open to thinking about kind of that missing middle in housing, not just the single-family homes and not just the giant apartment buildings to house folks and to make sure we have affordable units, but we need to think about how we're really using our multifamily homes, smaller apartment buildings, and even thinking about accessory dwelling units and other opportunities for how we might be able to make housing more affordable so that people can stay in place and they're able to stay in Collingswood amidst rising costs. We need to start looking into some of those things a little bit more. We've learned a ton over the last several years over what's worked in the past and what hasn't worked in the past. We need to start thinking about what we try out in that space.
Thanks. Anyone for a follow-up? Daniela?
I'm going to agree that ADUs are a wonderful option to explore safely. In addition, I think we could pursue rent controls. I was surprised that Collingswood doesn't have rent controls. And also, we need to have abilities to allow for multi-generational homes. A lot of people are becoming the sandwich generation, so ability to have your parents and your children in a home is very important.
Morgan?
I'm open to looking at ADUs strategically. You have to be really careful when allowing things like that, but it could certainly be done. And we look at our existing properties, we don't have a lot of room to spread out in this town. We're nice and cozy. So we look at existing properties and I've certainly looking at turning them into housing and affordable housing.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I would bet.
Please.
This is the really tricky part. The tricky part is for most families, their house is their asset. It's the family asset. So increasing that value so that people can retire, take their second mortgage out, pay for college, have that asset grow, and yet have it grow in a way that they're not priced out, that they can't afford the taxes. And one of the ways that we're really pushing, we tried to get senior housing going out by the water towers. It's not time for that right now, but the stress in our school plan about hitting every senior with the anchor, with the state of New Jersey program is something that we really we're aggressively working on.
Thank you. Amy?
So we've been out talking to a lot of voters, which has been really joyous to hear from real people. And this is a major concern, the affordability. A lot of folks were hit very hard by the reval. And while it was neutral at the end of the day, many families were hit hard. I was disappointed that the reval took so long to do because it hit people harder than it had to. That's just a fact. And I wish that it had been done earlier.
Anyone else?
Do I get to respond to that, or I have my response?
If after everyone else gets a chance to weigh in, you can, yes.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay, Jim, go ahead.
Sure. So this argument that the reval wasn't done for a long time is not really reflective of what the facts are. The facts are that the increase in our prices happened over like the last 4 or 5 years. That's where the rocket took place. So it's not a delay that our prices didn't go on a steady stream for 10 years. They kind of went level and shot up for the last few years. We did the reval as soon as we were ordered to do by the county, and that's just the fact of what we did.
Anyone else? Daniela, did I see your hand up? Sorry.
Yes. So we went 17 years without a reevaluation. It's supposed to be done every 10, just to put some facts out there.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll go to the next question. Daniela, we'll start with you on this. In the past month, we've seen the borough government and the Board of Education hammer out an agreement to address the structural funding deficit in the school district. The deficit, which exists partly because of the 2% property tax cap and partly because of the allocation of aid under the New Jersey School Funding Reform Act. And then, yesterday, there was some new wrinkle in the plan. The state decided that there's a magic bullet now that they're going to give everybody who has this gap in their fair share allocation that would allow the Collingswood School District to raise as much as $6.4 million in revenues in a one-time cap exemption to reach that state-calculated local fair share amount for the borough. And in that plan, there is something like a 5% match from the state. So they're throwing some skin in a game. This will start with you, Daniela, but because it's a big issue, we're going to go everybody around for 60 seconds on this. Please, what are your individual views on the financial relationship between the district and the borough government in 2025 and beyond? I'd like to hear thoughts on the proposed $15 million bond referendum, $15 million bond for recreational facilities from the borough, the possibility of whether school taxes go up through this new plan from the state or some sort of an operations referendum in the fall, which was part of the original agreement, and your thoughts on how resources are shared among the school district and the Board of Education.
This is one question?
This is one question. Well, it's gonna be an all play, so you'll have 60 seconds. We'll go all the way down the line. Listen, if everybody is here for anything, it's this. So, you know, talk about how, you know, what's the relationship between the school district and the borough government, and how is that going to have to be leveraged to handle some of the things that we're coming up with here to solve that problem financially? Because the bottom line is the residents are going to be taxed from both entities, and there's still only one pool to tax from.
All right, so the tax levy incentive program is a one-year, use it or lose it. This is not going to exist in the future, so this is the only chance to get on this boat, fact one. The shared agreement that came out between the borough and the district, point 6, was future referendum for sustainable funding. That was always going to happen, whether this happened from the state yesterday or not. So it's an extensive application to justify to the state for thorough and efficient education. So those are the standards you must meet to be able to raise the taxes in the tax levy for education. I think it's going to cost money, and it was always going to cost money. The previous plan was only a stopgap Band-Aid for 1 year, and we were going to be having these conversations over the summer regardless. So those conversations need to continue in a respectful way, and it was a very big question.
Sure was. And Becky, it goes to you now.
Great. I think, listen, I'd been feeling, as a parent of 2 young kids over at Sharp, I'd been feeling really hopeful about the future of collaboration between our board and borough because it needs to happen. My kids desperately need it to happen, and we need more funding in our schools. So I think I'd been, in the last 4 weeks, feeling like we were on steadier ground, that we were going to make progress where we could get there collectively and use this as a moment to heal some of those divisions that we have in town as we think about putting together a joint operating referendum for the fall. What I will say, and be as clear as I can, there's not going to be a point that I ever support raising taxes by $1,400 on the average homeowner without asking residents for a vote on that and asking them to have their voice heard. As we think about affordability in schools, those 2 things I think are the most pressing issues that we have right now, and they work hand in hand. Our schools need money. We should have an opportunity to come together as a community between the board and the borough and us in this room and our families and community members to say, here's what we want to invest in.
Thank you. Stuart.
Once again, it is a long question, but I would say that our schools and our borough, for as long as I've been in town, I don't remember a time period where our borough and Board of Ed were on separate pages. I feel like it is a total spider web of everything. Being a resident more than I am right now, we used to have plans where 8th graders would pick out random jobs in the community and go around with them for a day, so mind you that school choice is out there. We need to develop our schools and make our schools better from all sorts of grounds, from educational to athletically to theatrically to arts. Everything needs to get better. And that does come with money, I understand that. But I think we could also do it in a system of trades. I think our high school students need to leave the school with a trade of ability of some sort. So if we rebuilt that stadium like it did the Depression back in the 20s with our high school seniors and our contractors, I think we could go a long way.
Thank you. Morgan?
The schools and the borough are unquestionably intertwined, and I got to work alongside Team Collingswood on a master class in municipal finance to bridge that gap for them. This new wrinkle, where we can just keep communicating with our neighbors and with the school board. We have to keep the lines of communication open. I would like to see, moving forward, a liaison from the borough in the school, on the school board participation.
Amy?
I'm the daughter of a retired public school teacher. I don't know if she's watching. If so, hi, Mom. And I saw what my mom did growing up, buying school supplies, things that she needed, Kleenex boxes, things for the classroom. I will always be for investing in schools. Investing in the schools is investing in our community. Frankly, our housing prices won't continue to rise if our schools aren't up to par. I'm really looking forward to hearing more next week to see what these numbers might be. I believe that the schools and the teachers need what they deserve, their salaries, their benefits, et cetera. And so I look forward to hearing more from the school district. I'm also not interested in additional finger pointing or conspiracy theories. Let's get the schools the money they deserve.
Jim?
So just as the state put this wrinkle on it, we're trying to get clarity and help the state to define more clearly what this means, okay? It's great that this caps gets lifted. That's the whole point in the plan where we had an operating referendum coming down the road. What's not great in this is that decisions are gonna have to be made in the next couple weeks, the next few weeks. So it's not gonna have the public participation that a referendum would have had. I know some folks at the schools are worried to let people vote about it because they voted the referendum down last year. I don't share that. I think that people, when they're voting for the teacher's contract, when they're voting for the school, the people at the schools, whole different vote than, and frankly, one of the problems I had with the referendum last year is what we're gonna go through now, which is we're gonna make real fast decisions that are gonna cost people, like, it's gonna be $600 to $1,400 what the tax increase they're gonna be looking at. That's not how this should be done. Everyone should have more public participation on it.
Thanks. Megan?
So I don't actually think this news from the state is a huge wrinkle. We expected it. We had planned for it. It was part of the agreed-upon plan between the Board of Education and the borough. And it's actually good news that we're getting essentially free 5% contribution from the state. As far as the relationship between the school district and the borough, I think a true partnership respects that these are two totally separate entities and should be, but we can still be a thought partner to the school district, right? We can still attend Board of Education meetings so that we're well informed of what's going on and not be surprised when there are funding concerns or when the cost of providing a quality education skyrocket in the past 4 to 5 years in the same way that our property values have.
Anyone for a 30-second rebuttal? Okay, I saw Daniela and then Becky.
So to help frame the calendar, this application is due April 14th. There are 11 days before this very extensive application is due. And just to remind everyone that our school board are elected officials. Every single year, we elect our school board officials, and I know it's hard, but we all elected them, and they worked very hard in their individual campaigns to tell us why they should have been school board officials and were voted for by us.
Thanks, Becky.
Yeah, what I'd say is I do respect that our borough and our Board of Education are two separate entities and are tasked with things that are not always the same as one another, obviously. But I also think, to point to what Morgan said, is that I don't think that's always worked for us. And I think that the ask that happened back in beginning of February with the ask from the board for partnership and for help showed that we need a new day on this, that we actually have to think about partnership. And the idea of having a liaison and somebody who is at the meetings and who is meeting quarterly with the board helps us get in front of these issues in the future.
Thank you. Anyone else? No? Okay. Becky, you'll have this next one to start. Given the thin margins in every municipal budget, local governments are always seeking creative ways to manage resources, cut costs, share services, generate new revenues. What are your realistic, practical strategies for stretching a dollar in the Collingswood budget? And what are the most radical changes that might be achievable under the current structure?
I mean, I think that to give credit where Team Collingswood is, I think that we've done a very good job of stretching money over the last several years to try to minimize on the borough side the tax increases for residents. I do think that moving forward, we have, hundreds of municipalities across the state of New Jersey. And one of the things that we need to consider is how we might share services and what the trade-offs might be on sharing those services. Thinking about, what that means for, I don't want to say our library, because I don't think that we should share a library, but we do actually need to think about what it would mean to share services across multiple municipalities and whether we actually see any gains from doing something like that.
Anyone for a follow-up? Most practical and most radical. Jim?
So the most practical and the most radical are to do things like combine police chiefs, combine police departments. We took a run at that, had the 6 or 7 towns that were engaged in it, and a couple of the towns bowed out because, of course, there's incredible pressure from every local police department. So that's where the radical change happens. That's also where the dollars are. It's in those departments. Whether we could get the state, I really think the state has to offer incentives in order to make that happen, to make it more realistic for all the towns.
Anyone else? Daniela?
So concretely, now that we've been running for office, I know how much those mailers cost. They're expensive. Sending mail to this entire town, even if it's just a letter, costs money. And just like you do with your credit card bills and your insurance, you can opt for paperless. And I think that would be a very easy way that we could save ourselves a couple of bucks.
Anyone else? Morgan?
To that point specifically, I think it's a lot to assume that every single resident has access to online information, and there are people who need and prefer paper communication.
Amy?
To this point, you'll see on our website and in our policy platform, what we're suggesting is an opt-in program, to Morgan's point, that of course there will always be a paper option for those who would like it, but for those who choose to opt in, they can do so.
Anyone?
I would just add that we do have an opt-out, okay? And the same folks that may have trouble, hello mom, may have trouble opting in, would rather have it coming to their house, and if you so choose to opt out, you can do that.
Daniela, did I see a hand? No? Anyone else? Okay. So we're going to move on to redevelopment. Stuart, this will come to you. Collingswood has seen its share of successful redevelopment in the past 30 years plus. And then there have been also projects that did not come to fruition, like the Ingerman proposal for a whole block, West Knight and Haddon, and the Water Tower redevelopment project that was put on pause. What do you feel is the current purpose of redevelopment in the borough? And where do you see opportunities for change? What form do you believe they should take if you do?
There isn't much more space to grow in Collingswood. I think you can build up. I think that our town has a little bit harder leniency, and we're pretty hard on how our residents build our own homes. I think that we could be a little bit more lenient in that way. But in development, I really don't see room for other spaces. There's not much space left in Collingswood. It's just a true fact. We're a square mile town. So I think that we could be a little bit more lenient on our personal homes and let people grow up and let their lots get bigger and grow their houses bigger.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I do. The new fad that we're in is churches, redevelopment of churches. One's under construction right now, that it's gonna bring 30 units, 4 affordable units in it. There's folks at the Baptist Church that have just put it under agreement. They've got plans to redevelop that. So the Ocean Bank building, the Ocean First building, that's getting redeveloped. Right now, the focus is gonna be taking our older, out-of-use buildings and put them into a productive use.
Anyone else? Amy?
So I just want to give credit due where it's due, and that there has been so much development in this town, and that things like pilots were able to do a lot of that development. I think now it's not about developing the buildings, but about redeveloping the community. For example, the church project that Jim mentioned received a pilot. So those are tax dollars that are not coming to our town for luxury condos.
Daniela?
Talking about redevelopment, I think I want to go back to, our master plan was written in 1999. Usually, master plans last for 40 to 50 years, but I think we need to consider whether it's time to do a new master plan and consider that we are a semi-urban space, which is what, we don't have space, and whether our master plan was maybe written from a perspective of a suburban space, being this close to Philadelphia and having this dense of a population. Maybe it should be done by, urban planning and.
Anyone else? Megan?
I think any redevelopment goals need to take affordable housing and sustainability into account. We're currently not meeting our affordable housing goals that are required by the state. We have already begun speaking with experts in urban planning and sustainability and affordable housing, and I think those are the experts that we need to bring to the table along with the community.
Jim?
Yes, we are in compliance with all our affordable housing requirements. If we're not, just let me know what they are and we can fix that, but we are. And I just want to, on the point of the pilots, that we shouldn't be doing pilots for luxury condos. The pilot on the Presbyterian Church is one which we announced 5 years ago that they're paying 85% of what the taxes would be. That money is going into a recreation fund for shared recreation facilities before the schools and the borough. We announced that 5 years ago. That's what the plan was. That's where we reserved the money. And that money is what was available to fund the ask we got in February.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Morgan, next one will be for you. This is my favorite argument in town. Borough Code 141-15.1 lists a number of explicitly prohibited uses. Ice or roller skating rinks, establishments that show films or videos of any kind, massage or tattoo parlors, bars, packaged goods sales except limited breweries, bowling alleys, or electronic or mechanical games of any kind, not limited to pool, billiards, or bingo, flea markets, discos and nightclubs, accessory apartments, boarding homes and community residential homes, fortune-telling, tarot card and psychic reading, and similar or related services, which I'm not really sure what that covers, but... Do you think it's time to reevaluate any of the blanket prohibitions placed on these kinds of businesses? And as a follow-up, what kinds of businesses do you believe the borough should be adding to the mix?
Yes.
Okay. That was great.
I absolutely think a case-by-case basis is warranted. I remember there was a tattoo studio suggested years ago. I was not on the commission at the time. I don't know if you know me, but I probably would have said yes to that. A case-by-case basis for certain, and knowing the questions to ask 2-3 steps down the line. Ice rink, good luck to you. There's no room for an ice rink, but yeah, I'm about a case-by-case basis, and the list is very, very long and was written a very long time ago.
I just want to weigh in on this. To clarify, the issue of a case-by-case basis is that currently, because these are explicitly prohibited, what that means is that you need a supermajority on the land use board to overcome that. So it's already a case-by-case basis, but because of this blanket prohibition, you cannot introduce the idea and have it be a conforming use with anything because it's not. So that's sort of the issue.
So it could be rewritten to not.
Right. That's sort of the question. Jim, I saw your hand shoot up.
Yeah, so listen, we address those issues through redevelopment plans, okay? That's never been an obstacle. You don't have to go, if it's a use that we want to see come in, we do an amendment to the redevelopment plan, allow that use to come in. We just did this for, last year for 900 Haddon. They had a few businesses kept coming in that they needed to go into for the board. We changed the law so that would work. We've had, in the last month, we've had, cigar lounge, distillery. We've opened our arms, tried to work with them to get them coming into town. So what is written there that may be the fodder at the coffee shop, Matthew, is not really an obstacle. If there's a business that we want to see get in, we make it work and they come in.
Well, it was the supermajority that didn't bring the tattoo shop in, but that's
They
just.
never, I don't believe they ever applied, did they?
No, they did. That was
Okay.
about 10 years ago.
Okay.
Did I
10
see some
years
other
ago,
hands?
Come on.
Megan?
I
You were
think
here 10
all
years ago.
options really have to be on the table right now, with funding nationally and from the state at incredibly questionable and chaotic. We don't know what's going to come in the future. We have to keep all options on the table as ways to bring in additional tax revenue to the town without impacting our already overburdened taxpayers. And also, as mom to a 12-year-old who no longer has Wawa to go to after school, I personally would love to see an arcade. So yes, I'm open to everything.
Okay, I see some hands over here. Becky?
I think it goes back to what I said in my opening, and I know, Danielle, you said something similar as well a moment ago, is that, our master plan was almost 30 years ago. We are at the point where community members need to be able to come together and figure out, what do we want to be true of development in our town and redevelopment? What do we want to have be true now? And community members should have a voice in that. And also, if you get me a distillery, I'm gonna be thrilled. But we need to be able to come together and think about what the future looks like for that.
Thanks, Daniela.
So if we're really going to be open to small businesses, and there is a very, very long 141-51 whatever, we shouldn't have to write a redevelopment plan every time a curious, innovative, entrepreneurial spirit comes in that we haven't seen before. So if there's a way to nix that and still do the case-by-case basis, which is what the planning board is for, then I would support that.
Anyone else? Amy?
So in addition to Wawa closing, I think there are multiple businesses in town that have recently closed. I'm particularly upset to learn of minority-owned businesses, including Ida's Bookshop and Gallery Marie. It is my thought that we really need to work hard to bring women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, and disability-owned businesses to the borough to make it the diverse place that we want it to be.
Okay. Jim?
I'd like to address that. At the start of every year, businesses that were having trouble close. They hang in for the holidays, they close. That's what we're going through right now. And from what you should look at is, what's the interest to come in? Ida's Bookstore has somebody coming in, a men's haberdashery coming in. Marie's is retiring. I don't know if they got anybody there yet. Tobin's is under agreement. The DeBartolo's is under agreement. We right now have a 2% vacancy rate on properties that aren't signed up, which is half of what the state averages.
Thank you. Anyone else for a follow-up? Yeah, Daniela?
I was surprised, and during canvassing, I met an owner of a property on Haddon Ave, a business property that they rent. And I asked that person, had they ever been contacted by Borough Hall to be part of the bid, or, just have communication with the owners of these buildings that are renting out and not always renting at very hospitable rates to businesses in their first year. So I think that's something we could pursue, is having open conversations between the commissioners and the owners of the properties that are being rented on Haddon Ave.
Thanks. Anyone else? Okay. Amy, this one's for you. Collingswood was among the earliest communities to sign on to the state cannabis program, the opt-in. At this point, despite being multiple applications kind of in process, there's only one dispensary that's been opened to date. The zoning for these businesses has been confined to the Route 130 corridor. I'd like to hear, what is your perspective on the future of cannabis sales in Collingswood? And as the law has now expanded to permit on-site consumption lounges, do you believe there's an opportunity to create cannabis businesses, either recreational purchase, medical purchase, consumption lounge, in a walkable context in the Borough Business District?
This is not a topic that I'm a personal expert in. However, what this is an opportunity for the borough to bring in taxes, so the rateables, right? So I'm open to, as another colleague said, any and all ideas for bringing in rateables. Regarding consumption on site, I would look to other colleagues, other municipalities across the state. How has that worked? Is that something that we want to do or not? I don't know what else to do other than asking others and increasing the tax base at any way possible. So, sure, and walkability, why not?
Matthew, the cannabis industry is kind of stalled statewide. The folks that had an early interest were interested because they expected there to be a real limit on the number, okay? And the state has widened that open. So instead of being one McDonald's, owning the McDonald's in Camden County, there's now 100 McDonald's in Camden County. Made it very difficult for them to succeed. We've got a couple properties on 130 under agreement now. It's been for a while, as Matt said, and it's stalled because the industry is just stalled. There's too many, and they're all competing with each other to knock the prices down as low as they can. We've never had anyone ask us to open in downtown Collingswood for us even to consider that option. Everyone has looked to try to do 130 because they love the traffic, they love the flow back and forth, they love the quick connectivity into Philadelphia.
Anyone else? Stuart?
I would say if they're walking to a cannabis place, at least they're not driving.
Well, to be fair, the consumption lounge is a newly permitted use that wasn't contemplated in the original. When towns opted in at the beginning, they had to opt in not knowing what the rules would be. So this is a thing that's really new, and there's a little paper trail on it. Megan?
I think the tricky part about bringing a business like that, like into the downtown area where it's more walkable, is keeping them a safe distance away from schools, from drug-free school zones. That said, we are a 2-mile town, and keeping, to carry forward this analogy, 3 McDonald's next to each other, 1, 2, 3, it really makes competition and business difficult for these small business owners. And that's a real concern that the one business that's currently open really has, because I've spoken with them.
That's time. Thank you. And I saw some hands. Yep, Daniela?
So I think that's a really interesting idea, because something that I just heard today over at a coffee shop is that we need social spaces. Like, we like watering holes, and it's not, kids like watering holes, teenagers do, but so do adults. So having something to do after dinner could really pull in and keep people on the ad longer. And I think it's something that's interesting and should be explored.
Anyone else? Okay, Jim, this one's for you. You know about this one. The Collingswood restaurant scene has been built on the backs of BYOB eateries, largely based on the limitations of the state liquor license system. New Jersey, because of the population bases, would only permit a handful of alcohol licenses to be created in Collingswood. You pioneered efforts to create a concessionaire license system, which the ABC did not go along with. Do you believe it's important for the health of the local restaurant industry to create pathways for acquiring pocket licenses from neighboring communities, to change the town charter to support alcohol sales, or to seek any other avenue for establishing liquor licenses in town?
So the effort we made earlier last year, I think, was to try to get concessionaires licenses, which would have let us, we met with the restaurants, we talked with them all, which would have let us make them eligible for liquor licenses, all of them. And kind of our agreement with everyone was we wanted to do everybody or we don't do anyone. We could adopt liquor licenses in town, we could only do 3. Okay, and back when we started the push to get restaurants in, we had this discussion. We had this discussion as a community. We talked about it and decided not to allow liquor licenses, that we could get more restaurants in under a BYO scenario than we would ever get with liquor licenses. It happened, we generated that. So any change we make, like within our town, they can't buy pocket licenses from other towns. They can't, we would be limited to those 3. And doing that, our restaurants agree with us doing that, and having somebody with a liquor license here, somebody across the street without a liquor license, would hurt them overall, would not give everyone a benefit. I tried to devise with the concessionaires, which we've done in other towns. Glassboro, Chicky and Pizza's in on a concessionaire. So we've done it, it's just we wanted to do 20, and ABC did not want us to do that.
Thank you, that's time. Anyone for a follow-up? Yes, Amy?
So Collingswood is known for its restaurants. If you go around the state, people know Collingswood for its restaurants. But we know that restaurants are struggling right now, like all small businesses. I think it's the job of the commissioners to make sure that the small businesses are supported. We know that the profit margins are very slim. Some of our businesses, if we were to go through another horrible situation where they were closed, would lose money. So I think it's worth exploring.
Did I see? Yep, Morgan?
I think that since we only have 3 available to us, giving the advantage to 3 restaurants that get to survive, and how do you pick which ones don't get to survive and stick with the BYO option? If we have BYO across the board, that's the destination, and we have some available, like there's wine at Haddon Culinary, like there's ways that you can bring it with you, but I just think that it's the fairest option.
Becky?
Yeah, I agree with that. What I would add to it is that I think this is why it's so important to engage our restaurants and engage our business owners to keep a pulse on what they want to see be true, right? When we get to a point that restaurants are saying, hey, we want to do something different, I think we absolutely would have to listen and really respect so many of those voices. But the fact that they are being engaged and that they are at the table for this and saying this is not the path we want to go, I also think as a community we should respect that.
Daniela, did I see your hand? Yeah.
Yes. So in order to get rid of BYO or make this a non-dry borough, there would have to be a referendum. We would have to ask our community. Also, there's no saying you can't have both. Haddonfield has restaurants that have liquor licenses and serve, and also BYO. Like, there's an appeal to BYO that doesn't go away if the restaurant next door sells martinis.
Anyone else for a follow-up?
Yeah, I don't think Haddonfield has any liquor licenses. There's craft distilleries, there's craft breweries, they have wine, Jersey wines that they sell, but I'm not aware of any liquor licenses in Haddonfield. We've, like I said earlier, we've talked with a distillery this week that's coming in, that wants to come in. We've talked to, well, the Cigar Lounge doesn't really fit under this, but we've got the craft brewery. We haven't had inquiries from others. I know just through Pet Servo, we had inquiries from a wine tasting room. We're trying to work with them. So there's plenty of booze in town. It's just not like
That's
of the
time.
Traditional liquor license.
Thank you.
Because that hurts us.
That is time. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay,
I'll just add a rebuttal.
go ahead.
Haddon Heights just put this out for referendum. And so Haddon Heights might be a great town to sit down with their commissioners and find out how they're rolling it out, and so we can learn from each other.
Can I?
Yeah, if you could keep the time.
I'm redevelopment council to Haddon Heights, okay? Know them very, very well. And the reason they did it is because they don't have 25 restaurants in town. This was their way to get restaurants going.
Anyone else? Okay, Megan, we're going to move to you for the next one, and we're going to switch to the topic of public safety. Nuisance crimes, bicycle gangs, ATV riders, vandals get a lot of attention, but Collingswood police deal with a variety of concerns. In the most recently available uniform crime reporting data from 2023, the borough sustained 2 reported rapes, 2 reported robberies, 11 reported assaults, 32 reported burglaries, 266 reported thefts, and 124 reported auto thefts. What is your opinion of local public safety in general, and what are the specific ways in which the borough government can improve it?
Wow, that's a great question. I mean, we have an incredible police. I'm trying to look at you so I can answer you. Sorry.
Sorry, yeah.
No, you're fine. We have a really great police force who truly lives and cares and breathes this community. I think it's really wonderful that the borough this year has negotiated pay raises long overdue for our incredible public servants. And so we need to acknowledge the experience that they're bringing, and we need to give them the resources that they need. We also need to listen to the community when they're telling us what things are happening in town that make them feel unsafe. If somebody comes to a commissioners meeting and says, I can't take a walk after the sun goes down because it's too dark, they don't deserve to be told, walk on the other side of the street. We know what public initiatives help people to feel safe in town, and we need to listen to people and respect that.
Thank you. 30 seconds to anyone who wants to follow up. Stuart?
I actually was mugged in Collingswood out of my senior year of high school or so. And I thought the police force did a fantastic job. in helping me and helping the situation. I think that they do a great job in everything that they do around, and I think they just need to be involved more into our school systems to enable and to lower the crime of our youth.
Jim?
Yeah, so public safety is number one. Without it, forget all the rest. All these other issues just don't matter. Way back when, that was the issue that we addressed. And what we've gone through in the last couple of years, post-pandemic, it's been very difficult to hold on to police officers. We're not the only place that has that issue. I just was talking with a former cop, Mike Pope, over the weekend when I was out walking, and back then we would have 6 cops, 6 people lined up to get a position. Now we have just readjusted those salaries, going to hold them in, and I think we're in a much better competitive place to keep that force at full force.
Thank you. Anyone else for 30 seconds? Daniela?
So I don't know if it's the Police Advisory Committee or the Chiefs Advisory Committee. I've seen it written both ways. It started in 2020 or early 2021, and I think the borough needs to lend a hand in getting that back up and running, because that's a really great space for the police to be able to speak with residents and really hear the concerns one-on-one and share what their policy goals are and what they're going to change, and be able to have that conversation before the new policies get rolled out.
Anyone else?
Yeah, just the chief is sitting here in the back, and I do think that force still meets, okay? So he's right here, okay?
Thanks. Morgan, did I say? No, that's just a shifting of the hands. Okay. Jim, we'll go to you for the next one. And this is a topic that you touched on briefly, but it was already on my list, so let's go back to it. Back in 2012, before the Camden City Police Department was dissolved, Collingswood and a collection of neighboring communities, the Colonial Conference group, right?
Yep.
We're talking about regionalizing emergency services. Now, Camden County already has a centralized 911 dispatch call center in Blackwood. You know, the fire companies are organized for mutual aid response under the County Office of Emergency Management. Do you think it's time for Collingswood to contemplate regionalization of its public safety services, and/or are there other services you think the borough should contemplate sharing with its neighbors?
So we have made the attempt, as you referred to, with police. And back then, we were just trying to get a study about sharing a police chief. That was the extent of it. And the Colonial Conference towns, one of them would not sign on, and one of them kind of bailed out at the very end, and everything fell apart. It takes a lot of political will from a lot of people to be able to move it along. It's a great idea. We should have fewer communities until you start to do it, and then the people that live in that community say, well, whoa, I know my cops. I want to know my cops. I want to still know my cops. I don't want my cop coming from Haddonfield. So we're always open to try to do it. You need a few to dance. And that's why when I made reference to it, I said, like, the state's really got to give some incentives, got to give something to change either finances or give some break, a gold star in some way that encourages us all to sit down and talk about doing something together.
Thank you. Anyone for a follow-up? Daniela?
I think we're clearly in a different financial position than we were in 2012, and not just us, but our neighbors. So I think that the financial need might bring players to the table that maybe weren't willing. That's a lot of paperwork, a lot of moving parts, and you're swimming in bureaucracy to get all this paperwork done. But if paperwork is what you like to do, then that's not a problem.
Anyone for 30 seconds? Yeah, Becky?
Yeah, I'd also agree. I think it's absolutely time to explore what that could look like and what the cost savings would end up being for our town and our neighboring towns to do that. It's really interesting to have this question right after the last one, because I also think what we need to make sure of is that as we explore shared services, public safety still, even as we're talking about finance and talking about saving money, public safety can't suffer as a result of that. So I absolutely think it's something that we should be exploring and thinking about how we share these services across towns with very real criteria that we can't also jeopardize our community at the expense of that too.
Anyone else?
Just one last one, and Chief, hold your ears. We focused on the police chiefs and combining them because the towns that we had together were spending $1.5 million on a police chief, okay? And we were less than the size of the city of Camden. So it just didn't make a lot of sense. It seemed like easy fruit to pick that we could combine them in some way, and couldn't get political will for that.
And I remember at that time, there was also the issue of a lot of people who were ready to retire in a lot of those communities too. And I don't know if that
was-
synergy exists
It was the
now.
right time to make
Yeah.
it happen. Yep.
Okay, we'll go to Amy for the next one. As was mentioned, the most recent borough budget, the borough government worked out the numbers to give raises to its first responders. And previous to this, there's been turnover in the police department because of all the reasons that you can imagine. So aside from budget crunches and trends that show a shortage of people entering many phases of public service, what do you think must be done to recruit and retain public safety personnel, cops, firefighters, EMTs?
So as the chairperson for Collingswood's Health Services Advisory Board, we held a survey last year, and just to reiterate that half the people who answered that survey said public safety was their number one concern. In order to have good public safety, as has already been mentioned, we have to make sure that we're paying not just the bottom rates, but in order to support yourself and support a family in town. In terms of recruitment of safety officers and first responders, that could be things like education, talking to young people about all kinds of different careers, right? I think this goes to something that even Stu said, talking about technical opportunities, other things for young people to do. It's a hard time right now for young people. Mental health is a huge concern among young people. And so when you can see possible opportunities for careers, those becomes ways to see your future.
Thank you. Anyone for a follow-up?
Sorry, yes.
Yep.
The attraction in the marketplace today is dollars. It's just been pure and simple dollars. After COVID, after all the incidents through the George Floyd, when we lost so many police officers that retired, that got out, and it became unpopular to be a police officer. There was a lot more focus. And now the young ones can shift anywhere they want to and make as much money as they possibly can. That's the motivating factor. It's why we put $1 million into this year's budget. It's going to be added every year for the next couple of years to recoup that, to get them back.
Anyone else for a follow-up? Okay. Morgan, we'll go to a few. Amy, it's your turn? Morgan?
I think that was me.
That's you? Okay, Morgan. Mobility in the community is another public safety concern. We've dealt with traffic crashes, pedestrian and cyclist injuries, even fatalities. Collingswood now has a 5-year-old plan, Connect 2020, that's based on principles called Vision Zero, which is a philosophy that you can achieve zero traffic fatalities, that all these crashes are preventable, and Complete Streets principles, which says you design a roadway to make it accessible for any kind of person to use it, whether they're in a car, on foot, on a bike, a scooter, something like that. Are you familiar with Connect 2020, Complete Streets, and Vision Zero? Where do roadway design, improvement, and multimodal commuting rank among your priorities for local government?
It ranks really high. I know that their Connect 2020 we're 5 years into it, it's a 10-year plan. We have Rutgers and Rowan looking at streets. We have curb cuts. We've done at least like 10 curb cuts in the last year. Correct me if I'm wrong. But we're working toward it every day. We engage the public on it, and we have bike lanes, and we have the new, there's safety precautions at Atlantic and Collings. We have that's going in to curb traffic there. One of the biggest hurdles is that people drive like crazy. And like the pandemic broke driving. So it goes back to public safety, reinforcing the safety issues there. But for mobility, we're opening our new Pocket Park as a place to gather, and we're keep working on it.
Anyone else for a follow-up? Stuart?
I think locally in Collingswood, we have way too many curbs and not ramps to support ADA. Coming from the Cerebral Palsy Center, I remember taking people on walks, and you have to avoid a corner because you have to go down a driveway, which puts you automatically in harm. I know, being a newbie parent, we have people that are transporting disabled children in carts and have to go out in the street. So they have to get corrected. We have to fix them.
Thank you. Follow-up from anyone else? Jim?
In the last 5 years, the borough spent almost $5.5 million on projects related to the Connect 2020 program. Just to correct Morgan, we've done 60 curb cuts, ADA ramps, and we have another 100 planned because we've just gotten funding in to do an additional 65. At Atlantic and Collings, you're going to see the work starting soon, that temporary,
Bicycle
that's the right
Boulevard.
word. The practice we did out there is going to become permanent. It's a big priority for us, and we have spent a lot of money doing the changes we've done so far.
Thank you, that's time. Amy?
So I want to commend the borough for all of that. Road safety is a topic I love talking to voters about as a public health professional. I think some of these things have taken a long time. Even at the forum a few weeks ago, people said they had been advocating for stop signs for years. So if we want to take road safety seriously, these need to be concerns that are heard and addressed quickly, certainly over years, but I've lived here 15 years and I've heard it the whole time I've been here.
Stuart, yeah?
I also would like to say that there's a good amount of pedestrians that ride bikes, also very crazy. And I do think that they need to be informed, or there needs to be some sort of classes taken to tell people that they're riding a movable vehicle. You can get a DUI on a bike, just as easy you can get it in a car.
Anyone else? Okay, Stuart, we'll go with you for the next one. Homelessness is on the rise in America. The 2024 point-in-time count, which measures the number of people not sleeping indoors on a sample night, was the highest recorded to date. In Camden County, the number they're looking at is around 600 people. And these issues are aggravated by mental and behavioral health concerns, including addictions. What is your outlook on the impact of public health and social welfare concerns on public safety resources? And how would you support first responders whose jobs it is to address these issues?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
Sure. What's your outlook on the impact of public health and social welfare concerns on public safety resources? And how would you support first responders whose job it is to address these issues?
Coming from the special education world and so forth, I feel that our first responders getting to any situation is different. There's an old saying, if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. So everybody's different, every situation is different, but I think our public safety needs to be trained in a more advanced with special needs in numerous situations, however you can do it. I mean, if you put them into classrooms with special needs so they can learn about different types of behaviors and how things react. It's a touchy situation because every situation is different. So no matter how someone is approached on a street, they could be affected totally different. It definitely needs to be handled, but I think it's a group effort, and I think it needs to go continuously building and growing.
Thank you. Anyone for a follow-up? Megan?
I think this would be a great opportunity for some of those shared services that we've talked about tonight with other neighboring boroughs and municipalities across Camden County to provide social workers, right, and first responders who are properly trained and empowered to treat individuals who are either in crisis or experiencing homelessness. Shared services could be a great option here.
Amy?
So as a public health professional, this is a topic that's near and dear to my heart. I've worked with people experiencing homelessness, both when I worked in the city of Camden and elsewhere. And certainly there is an overlap with mental health and substance use, but not everyone experiencing homelessness has mental health or substance use issues. What's key is to, in light of everything that's happening and in the world news today, stock market, to make our town affordable so that people can remain housed.
Thank you. Anyone else for a follow-up? Jim?
Yes, so we have had a very strong partner in Camden County with respect to homelessness. We've had people in town, still do have some people in town, and we have had a strong partnership in terms of working with their programs. We, first of all, our police force has every training known to man. We were one of the first trainees for mental health issues a long time ago, and we work with the county. The county now has a program where they take people who were formerly homeless, bring them in to help with the homeless in order to get them into shelter. We are working very strong with it and have had some success, but it's an issue that just in today's world, it's not going to go away. We just need to keep addressing it every way we can.
Thank you. Anyone else? Becky?
I think one of the things I also want to highlight here is that it's also about being proactive. So one of the things that the West Cowles Revitalization Committee is working on right now is thinking about how would we launch a block captains program that we can get somebody who, within the neighborhoods, can get to know their neighbors and the issues that are emerging so that we can hopefully proactively support people before they become unhoused or before they really have these very significant issues. How can we get in front of that and provide the needed resources in advance?
Thank you. Anyone else? Morgan?
And our police force does work with social workers. They partner with Volunteers of America, and they have a close relationship. So it's not police officers answering a call that isn't warranted. And they're exquisitely trained in that regard.
Anyone else? Okay. Becky, this next one's for you. We're going to switch to infrastructure. Soon, Collingswood will cut the ribbon on a new DBW garage, which offers an upgraded environment for public works crews and frees up downtown real estate in the borough. Public works folks are asked to do a great deal of work around town, from cutting grass and repairing roadways to hauling trash and stringing Christmas lights. What do you view as the current and future infrastructure needs in town? And outside of work done by third-party contractors, how do you support the borough public works in managing these demands?
Yeah, I think the truth is this is not an area that I have great expertise, and I'll be the first person to say that, and I'm excited to be on a slate with people with deep expertise in this area. Our public works crews, are the reason that part of why I love living here is that when we had a disruption in trash services, I barely knew that it happened, right? Because we have a crew that should have a voice in thinking about what the future of this is and what our next big issues are. When I think about infrastructure and I think about where we're headed, for me, it comes down to our water systems and making sure that we're able to provide safe drinking water to our town and making sure that our public works crew has the support that they need in order to continue doing the work that they need to.
Anyone else for a rebuttal?
So the infrastructure work requires incredible expense. What we have put into our water system alone, with rebuilding basically the two plants that we have to deal with increasing PFAS standards, that work and making it so that we can sustain it so that ratepayers don't get crushed is a major obstacle. The new facilities is a way to support our DPW workers, and constantly addressing the needs they raise with us is really the main way we help them out.
Anyone else? Amy.
So it's been interesting talking to folks while running because there are actually director titles for the commissioners, and one of them is Director of Public Works, Parks, and Public Property. This is quite interesting. I've had conversations with folks who have lived here for decades that say, wait, we don't vote for the mayor? So you actually get to vote for the three director roles. By having a director, someone in charge with qualifications who you can ask questions of.
Anyone else? Okay. So we're going to move on. Danielle, this one comes to you. Waste management and recycling have become ongoing issues across the country as the mechanisms for managing them have become more expensive. There's fewer options for their safe disposal. In 2022, Collingswood had to create its own trash service amid a shortage of qualified bidders for the job. And the countywide contract for waste disposal in dozens of municipalities was renewed with Covanta at the 11th hour in late 2023. Otherwise, come New Year's Eve, there would have been no place to take the garbage, and there was no other bidder for that service. So how do you foresee Collingswood managing both the financial costs and the environmental impact of its garbage in the coming years, particularly in a community that generates lots of waste from both residential and commercial consumerism?
So we were just talking about this the other day on one of our TED Talks that we call it with experts in the community to help get us ready for this gigantic job we're trying to convince you to vote us in for, is that composting is hard to do in your backyard. It's smelly, like it takes a lot of commitment, but garden state composting services Collingswood and many of our surrounding boroughs. And we were really curious as to, since they have the ability to do so many communities now, if there's some way that we could partner with them as a town and offer, it's $5 a week is what I pay for my compost. If there's any way to partner and do it on a town-wide level, and especially given the size of our restaurants, like whether there is the infrastructure on or some other, options for our restaurants so that all of this food waste that we're producing and can be properly disposed of.
Thank you. Anyone for a follow-up?
Yeah, a couple things. We have a composting program with our restaurants. I've had it for a long period of time. The trash issue is not one that Collingswood's going to be able to handle alone. We've been working with the county as they, at the end of '23, tried to find other sources for us to take our trash. It's a county regional problem that is being looked at, trying to find answers to. The trash business is in disarray. And well, things going on in the world right now aren't going to help that a lot, but we're hopeful that together we can find some answers.
Anyone else? Okay. So Becky, this one comes to you. Extreme weather has touched every place on the planet more intensely in the past decade. We felt the local impact of both flooding and drought last year. In 2023, smoke from the Canadian wildfires on the west coast of North America choked the air across Camden County from thousands of miles away. Every summer storm season seems to take a bigger toll on property and local shade canopy. Given the financial toll and the public health impact of extreme weather driven by climate change across the region, what do you believe Collingswood can do to become more sustainable, resilient, and environmentally sound?
Yeah, I think that I think we just had a conversation with a state level conservation group 2 weeks ago to talk about just this thing. I think that the more we are creating green spaces, the more we are trying to mitigate floodwater rising in people's backyards and homes and around 130, given that we have more and more of these 100-year storms that seem to happen every 2 years. I think that our town's done a really wonderful job trying to mitigate that stormwater rising and trying to create more green spaces out there for our community members. And I think we need to continue in that way.
Anyone for a follow-up? Okay, Amy?
I love the public health questions. Thank you very much. I think that when we look at extreme weather, and particularly the health of individuals, families, and dyads in our community, we need to think that the solutions of the past may not be the solutions of the future. And we need to turn to other towns, other municipalities across the county and state in order to make our town as sustainable for as long as possible.
Anyone else for a follow-up? Okay, Stuart?
I really think that we need to go into our landscapers into this side because Collingswood's built on a swamp where like 90%, almost everybody gets underwater all over the town. Being in between the creek and the river, you have to develop more abilities to get rid of some water. We have to lean to our landscapers and figure out ways to be better in that process.
Anybody else?
So what we've done on environmental initiatives over the last several years is first expanded the electric fleet within our public works, within our fire department. We've expanded EV chargers at grants pretty much that we've gotten, and we're looking to do more. We think we've got more that are coming in the pipeline, again, getting paid for with other people's money. Stormwater regs, we've adopted all the state requirements, trying to hold everybody as they want to put a new in-ground pool in the backyard, that maybe there's some other things we should be thinking about.
Thank you. Anyone else? Good. Okay. We've got one more question here before we go to the closing statements. And Stuart, we'll start with you, but this will be for everybody. And this is a simple one. This came in from a reader by email. When you realize you've made a mistake, whether it was an error in judgment, an accident, miscalculation, tell everybody, how do you handle it? And this is for everybody. So you have 60 seconds, and so does the next person.
You handle it one mistake at a time. You've got to talk to people, you got to tell people, you got to correct yourself. We always have to build, and we always have to become better. All mistakes everyone creates mistakes, and you have to create yourself to be better about it, I guess. When I make a mistake, I come out about it. You talk about it, and you figure out a better way to go do something else, or what you should have done differently.
Morgan?
Yeah, admitting it, coming forward, asking forgiveness when necessary, grace when possible. We all do make mistakes. We all will make mistakes. We can learn from them, and we can try to do better.
Amy?
I'm the parent of 3 children, and so I think of this deeply. I make a lot of mistakes, and so do they. I, as well as my partner, my husband, make a strong attempt to say that we're sorry when we screw something up. I see myself as a role model for them, and hope to continue that in additional leadership roles.
I won't make a joke, but all I could say is I apologize, get clear what I did wrong, and then we try to put together a plan so that we don't do it again. Just don't repeat the same thing twice.
Megan?
Yeah, for sure. I'm always the first to admit when I've made a mistake, and I probably make it much, much bigger than it needs to be in my head. It's definitely not a positive trait. But yeah, like, take accountability, take responsibility, apologize, and learn from it. Don't make the same mistake twice. But be held accountable. Everyone here has said it. We're all human beings trying our best. Everyone makes mistakes. Sometimes they're big ones, sometimes they're silly. But if we learn from them and move on, I think it can be a learning moment.
Becky, we'll go to you and then Daniela.
Yeah, I think it's about showing humility and owning it and saying that we screwed up and you're trying to make sure that it doesn't happen again and learning from it. I think I've made plenty of mistakes, probably today, probably talking to my children. And the truth is that it's going to continue happening. We're going to make mistakes, and any elected leader or anyone vying for that position that says they're not going to is just absolutely wrong. But it is about showing humility and apologizing and addressing those who've been impacted by that mistake, and then continuing to move forward.
Daniela?
So my husband will say that I'm not good at saying sorry, but I think that's unique to our relationship and maybe my mom. But other than that, genuine apologies matter. And, like everyone said, you grow from those mistakes. You learn something from them and you come out stronger on the other side of it.
Anybody else? I had a last-minute toss in here. We don't have much space for new development in town, but should we preserve what we do have as green space? So since this just came in, I think Morgan will start with you, and then we'll let everybody who wants to weigh in go in on this one.
I hear people talk a lot about green spaces, and we're nestled between Cooper River and Newton Lake and Knight Park. I mean, we have probably more green space than most towns, period. But to just interrupt the eye line of Haddon Avenue, I mean, I've talked a bunch of times about the Pocket Park today, but I'm really excited about it. And any of the developments that we're considering, like the ones that were even paused, there's meeting spaces designed in those, and throughways and landscaping, and everything is done with an eye toward greenery. We're not looking at like that corridor of Haddon Township where it's just tall buildings on either side. Of course, we're looking at pollinator gardens and green roofs and keeping that in mind.
Anyone to follow up? No? Okay. Well, I want to thank everybody for their thoughts. We're going to start with closing remarks, and we're going to go from this side down. So Daniela, you can go first. You have 90 seconds to say whatever you want. I think you remember the ground rules from before. Just speak about yourself. Don't speak about other candidates. And you've got 90 seconds to wrap it up, and then we'll proceed all the way down the line.
Thank you all for coming, first of all, to my fellow candidates. NJ Penn, in the retrospect, thank you for all your work you put in for a wonderful evening. All right, I've had a staggering number of conversations with neighbors that end with, because that's the way it's always been done. And that's just not a good enough reason anymore. I'm running for commissioner to be your steward in service of the community. My leadership within rec soccer has proven I have the ability to work with my peers and take ego out of the equation to find the best solutions. We have big issues to face. We have to accept ideas that originate from outside the historical circle of trust. We have to make a bigger tent, a larger and more inclusive space where we can benefit from the experience and background of the diverse members of this community. I'm not running to become a lifelong politician or to further my career. Collingswood Forward will govern like it campaigns. We will continue to work in collaboration with one another, listen to experts, make informed and actionable decisions, maintaining our focus on all of you, not just those that vote for us. We will continue to have the hard conversations because fundamentally, in a town of 14,000 full of people who love Collingswood, there's much more that unites us than divides us. We start there, we build trust, and we empower this community to be stronger, more engaged, and more active than it's ever been before. My name is Daniela Solano Ward, and I'm asking for your trust and your vote to lead Collingswood forward.
Thank you, Becky.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity tonight to come out and answer questions. I think at the root of why I'm here and what I didn't talk about in my opening statement is that I've got 2 little kids over at Sharp. Our family is here for the long run. And I think that while we have so much we can continue doing in the future to, not just continue doing it the way we always have, but building, is that we have an incredible foundation. And even in these moments where things feel divisive or things feel broken, I look around at other neighboring towns and states, and man, we've got something really wonderful and beautiful here. And we have to build on that, right? It's not about just doing something new for new's sake. It's about really building on an incredible foundation and continuing to grow. And the reason that I'm excited to lend my voice to Team Collingswood to do that is that I do believe the way forward, as we think about the really complicated issues we heard about tonight, is through a blend of experience and knowing what to do and having the connections and resources and networks to help pull us through those really tough moments, and having new voices who could say, wait a second, here's what I'm seeing and hearing from my neighbors, and then maybe it's a little bit different than what we've talked about before, but having that blend between experience and newness is something that I think goes so far in a town with a foundation like ours, and I'm very excited to lend my voice to that. So thank you.
Thank you. Stuart?
In closing, I'm Collingswood raised, and not just by my mom, but I'm also raised by my town. I'm a Collingswood future. I've run a nonprofit. I've subbed for a school system. I've coached hundreds of our youth, employed by DeBartolo's Bakery for over 15 years, and even checked tags at Roberts Pool. I walked through the halls of our schools and was proud to be a Panther, and still am. I was excited to buy a home in 2012 and start my family in Collingswood, allowing my children to walk the same halls that I once did. I want our town to continue to grow, be affordable, and be safe for our children and residents. Collingswood is a melting pot of hardworking blue and white-collar individuals that when we work as one, we're a formidable force. I respectfully ask your vote to be commissioner of our amazing borough that I, with pride, call home.
Thank you. Morgan?
My goal in running again is to help bring people out of their houses, out from behind their keyboards, and to just look at each other and see each other and know each other and gather in spaces and rely on each other for safety and security. We're in really scary times, and I think knowing your neighbor is really important. And I really love the blend of people who've been here forever and people who are brand new, and it's that experience and the new vision that we can bring, and we're hoping we can continue on.
Thank you. Amy?
Thank you so much for this opportunity, to the moderators and for everyone who's asked questions. I hope that tonight you've had an opportunity to get to know us a bit more. As I stated, my reasons for running are to leverage my experience and to make a difference. You've heard some of the differences that we have. These are policy and not personal differences. What we call on our slate is that we're looking to make for evolution, not revolution. We're looking to bring this town forward, give credit due where credit is due, but that we're looking towards the future for many, many years to come. I'm not a politician either. I'm a person who values service and caring for others at my core, and I want to lead with empathy and caring for others as a role model. I'm looking to run to be commissioner for everyone in Collingswood. There's so much happening in the world. I drove by today Jersey Kebab with all of the hearts in the window. I get teary thinking of it, and this is what's possible when community comes together. I want to tap into the strength of this community and support all of you with a fresh vision and bright future. I keep hearing from voters that it's time for change. It's time for the next chapter. I agree, I'm ready, and I'm up for the challenge. I'm asking for your vote. Let's move Collingswood forward together.
Thank you. Jim?
So the change I think that Amy's referring to is me. I don't think it's anything about policies, it's me. And I just want to say that the administration, our record is one in which we never say the words, oh, that's the way it's always been done, so that's what we're going to do. And the things that we've accomplished and done in this town over this period of time, I think make it very clear that we adapt, we innovate, we change, we mix it up. We do it the way other places never think of doing it. That's why even with the school plan, I've got mayors are calling us, administrators are calling into our administrator. How did you do this? What did you do? So don't be guided by, it's the old guy, and he's the thing we have to change because he's just been there too long. Look at what we've done. Look at the policies, look at the outlook we make, look how we approach things. We approach things differently. We always have. That's been our hallmark. We always will. There will be a new challenge next year that none of us thought of. To think that any of us ever thought there would be a trash company that walked out one day and we would be collecting trash and fixing it tomorrow, just never in a million years, okay? But we figured it out. So I'm gonna finish just with this. Brett, I'm dying to high five with you because he keeps throwing his hands up all night. Thank you all. This has been the honor of my professional life to serve you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan.
I'm going to say thank you also. I really, really appreciate everybody coming out tonight or streaming if you're watching online. I'm so grateful to the staff at the Scottish Rite for opening. I know they had a huge event earlier today and another one tomorrow. Throughout my career, I have worked with financial and real estate professionals, lawmakers at every level of government, medical professionals, educators, business community, and literally every kind of personality that you can imagine. I've gotten really good at finding common ground and leading with empathy, and those are the kinds of things that start from the top, and those are the kinds of things that engage the community in the process of governance. I realized when going through this process, I have 0 days of experience as a borough commissioner, but I have years of experience doing the jobs and building the skills that are necessary to become a really great borough commissioner. So even though I've never been a borough commissioner before, I'm ready on day one to engage the community, involve the community, hear from people who disagree with me, and give open and honest feedback and invite everybody to the table. I mean, I want to see commissioner meetings that are filled like this is tonight. So I'm ready to bring Collingswood forward into the next 20 years.
Well, first of all, I want to thank all of the candidates for being here. Can we please have a round of applause for your neighbors? Well-deserved. I appreciate you all hanging in there with the questions. And please, a round of applause for my colleague in journalism, Brett Ainsworth from The Retrospect, who was your timekeeper today. Jim, maybe you'll get that high five now. I want to thank also MageWorks up at the top, Jay Mage, streaming this for the folks at home. So there was an opportunity to follow up, and we're going to have this on the NJ Penn YouTube channel and the Retrospect YouTube channel so that you could rewatch it if you wanted to for any particular reason. I want to thank Paula and Eric again from the Right for putting these lovely chairs, these tables, so we have sound for this event. I want to thank the Right for having us because there's a show going on in the auditorium right now. There's always something happening. And I just want to say it is my great privilege as a journalist to work with other journalists in the room to do something like this. And so we appreciate you guys for all being here. And if you want to buy subscriptions to our newspapers, that would be great as well. Nobody's getting paid tonight except Jay for doing this work. So thank you all for being here. This is it. We appreciate you all. And don't forget, voting is May 13th. Thank you.